Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, February 14th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Merton, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. It's the Valentine's Day special edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast, although it's a bittersweet day for me because 1 year ago today, my grandmother passed away, and she meant a lot to me, so it's a very, very tough day for me personally. But I did manage to get away for a few days and head down to Buffalo just with the girlfriend just to hang out here. And I went to the hockey game last night. It was great. Saw the Sabres play the Blue Jackets. Awesome game. Went to overtime. Sabres won 4-3. Just an awesome game. Haven't been to that arena before. UFC has been there before. They went there a few years ago for DC versus Rumble, the rematch, if I'm not mistaken. And really nice arena. A little smaller than the one we have in Toronto, but definitely a nice place to watch a hockey game. I'm sure it'd be a nice place to watch a fight. So next time UFC comes here, I'm down, man. I'd love to come back and check that out. So nice to get away for a few days from the city and just hang out down here. So let's get into today's show. So I got a few things to talk about today, just a few fights and a few pieces of news. But I want to start with the fight announcement, actually. Usually I get to them at the end of the show, but I'm going to start with this one now. Fabricio Werdum is making his return to the UFC at UFC 250, and he's taking on Aleksei Oleinik in a battle of two of the greatest heavyweight MMA grapplers of all time. Two of the greatest grapplers regardless of weight class. This is an awesome fight. Love this matchup. Both guys were calling each other out a little while ago when it was evident Fabricio was going to be returning soon. Fabricio obviously hasn't fought in a few years. He was suspended for PEDs. He asked for his release from the UFC. The UFC did not grant him his release. He is 42 years old now, so he's a little bit older, obviously. Of course, Oleinik is old himself, so the age kind of negates each other. But as far as Werdum goes, has not fought since March 2018 when he was knocked out by Alexander Volkov. Before that, had a really nice run in the UFC. Overall, he has a 9-3 record in the UFC, including wins over Cain Velasquez, Mark Hunt, Walt Harris, Big Nog, Travis Brown, Roy Nelson. Some really good wins for sure. Like, the guy is definitely a solid heavyweight. Of course, he's most known for his win over Fedor in Strikeforce back in 2010. It's been 10 years almost since that fight. I remember that one very, very well. Also has some really big wins in the past over guys like Overeem as well. So this guy has been around forever, fought the best of the best, has some really big wins. 2 years away, though, will take its toll. Without PEDs, I don't know what to expect from this guy. Hard to say. I'd like to think he's still going to be a great fighter. I mean, he really was one of the best heavyweights and arguably one of the more underrated heavyweights. But the PED thing really, I think, took away some of the luster of him beating Cain Velasquez and winning the title a few years back. In this fight, he'll be taking on Aleksei Oleinik, who is obviously one of the greatest grapplers himself. And he's also 42, so both guys are 42, like I mentioned. Oleinik's coming off a nice win over Maurice Green. He looked great in that fight, submitted him. Also has wins over Mark Hunt and Junior Albini in the UFC. Victor Pesta, Jared Roosevelt, lots of performance in the night bonuses. He's a guy that either finishes you or he gets finished himself. So this is an interesting fight. Both guys have incredible jiu-jitsu. So if it goes to the ground, it's hard to say who has the advantage. I guess I'd slightly lean towards Oleinik, just a little tiny bit. I mean, it's very hard to say that, but he does have more submission wins. He has a little bit more experience as far as MMA fights go. So I guess I'd have to lean towards him a little bit on the ground. But striking-wise, Werdum, I think you have to lean towards him. Even though he's been knocked out a few times, he has proven he has more knockout power, in my opinion. Tough fight to call, guys. It's in Brazil, so that probably does give Fabricio a little bit more of an advantage here. But Oleinik's a very capable fighter. So great fight. Love this matchup. I do slightly side towards Fabricio. It's very close, but I think fighting in Brazil will help him out just a little bit. But yeah, this is at UFC 250. Of course, that's the Henry Cejudo and Jose Aldo card. So that card's rapidly approaching in May. Don't know if I'll be in Brazil this May. I went last May for UFC, the Andrade Namajunas 1 card, which was awesome. Not sure if I'll go this time around, but yeah, it's nice that they go every May. It's pretty much like a yearly thing at this point. And I should mention that Fabricio Werdum has fought as recently as May 2016 in Brazil, and that's when he got knocked out by Stipe Miocic and lost his heavyweight title in kind of an upset. I mean, he didn't fight that well that night. He kind of rushed forward, got caught by Stipe, but now we know how good Stipe is. And as far as Oleinik goes, he has fought in Brazil as well in May 2018 when he submitted Junior Albini, who, by the way, was cut from the UFC this week. So interesting fight, slightly towards Fabricio, but very, very close fight. Interesting fight. I'll get to some news now, and then there's one other fight else I'll get to at the end. Cannonier, Darren Till has been scrapped from UFC 248. This fight's not going to happen, guys. So it's very unfortunate. I think it still happened at another card, maybe London. I doubt it. don't see that happening at this point. I mean, London looks pretty set. I think this would be a better co-main event for that card than I think it's Mike Grundy. I can't remember who's fighting, but yeah, I think that's the co-main event. This would obviously be a better co-main event, but quite frankly, this should be a 5-round fight for a title shot probably. I know Paul Costa's out there. Obviously, he's been hurt though, in my opinion. Or he is hurt. So in my opinion, these guys, maybe if they get a win here against each other, they could possibly jump Costa. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think this fight should be for 5 rounds. Unfortunately, it won't be taking place at UFC 248 though. Too many fights in that card. Just not enough time for that to get done. So it's unfortunate. Till has visa issues. We know about that. Cannonier, I believe, will still be weighing in for that card just in case there is an injury or weight cutting issue to either Adesanya or to Romero. With Romero missing weight numerous times in the past for title fights, it's a good thing that he's going to be the backup, I guess, for that card. But yeah, it does suck this fight's not happening, guys. I would have loved to see it, but it's just not going to happen. Henry Cejudo called out Alexander Volkanovski. He says he's gunning for the 3rd belt. He posted a really funny picture on his Twitter of him and his girlfriend saying, like, he's like pointing in the sky saying, like, that's where I'm going to find my next belt or something. And Volkanovski responded saying, like, don't, make Valentine's Day promises that you can't keep. It's kind of funny stuff. They're going back and forth. Honestly, it's kind of an interesting fight. I mean, they're both like not big dudes. Like Cejudo obviously was a big flyweight, but at bantamweight's kind of like average sized. Featherweight, he'd be small. But, Volkanovski, like, stature-wise, I don't think he's the biggest featherweight, but he gets it done, right? He's just a great fighter. I would obviously favor Volkanovski. He's the bigger guy, but this would be an interesting fight. Of course, Cejudo has so many challengers at 135, though. I think he should focus on that. Just focus on getting back in cage. And to be quite honest, like the fact that he kind of hand chose Aldo when there was so many other guys out there like Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, guys that are well more deserving of the title shot than Jose Aldo, who's coming off back-to-back losses. Those are the kind of guys he should be fighting right now. So for me, like, there's so many opponents he still has at 135 before he could even start talking about a fight with Volkanovski. Although, as an MMA fan, I'm always interested in super fights. And to be honest, this is an interesting fight if it ever does happen. Got a comment from Kishiro Ryodoju. Question: how good is Werdum with all the extra juice squeezing? I said the same thing a few minutes ago. People are definitely going to be suspecting him of not being the same guy he once was. And, quite frankly, I mean, that's his fault. Like, he got caught, and I know that he's, denied whatever he got tested positive for, but 2 years, that says a lot. And trenbolone was the substance, and he did get his suspension reduced because of substantial assistance, aka snitching. But you know what? A lot of people don't like when guys snitch. For me, it's like, whatever. I mean, hey, if they're all using, they might as well just, try to get a lower suspension if they can. I mean, it's their own career, right? So I know people say, stop snitching and all this stuff, but if you're using, like, I mean, Jon Jones, I think has helped. You saw it as well. Other question: can you tell me what kind of microphone you use so I can order one from Amazon for my live streams? I'm using the one that comes with the laptop right now. I'm not at home, so I'm on the road right now, man. So I'm just using whatever's here. If it sounds good, I hope it does. That's what it is, just the built-in one. But if it doesn't sound good, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just on the road right now. I can't bring a standard mic. Although I've heard that Blue Yeti's really good. Samson mics are good. There's a lot of different mics, but maybe ask James Lynch. He's more of the technical guy than I am. For me, it's like the one I have at home on my iMac, I think is really good. This one I think is okay, but it is what it is. I'm on the road, like I said. I can't really bring something else. Getting back to the news here, Corey Anderson, he's fighting, of course, Jan Blachowicz tomorrow. He says Jon Jones is beatable. He thinks he's the guy to beat him, which is kind of laughable in my opinion. Corey Anderson he's not a bad fighter, obviously. He's a good fighter. He's got a good record, 10-4 in the UFC. Good wrestling, great cardio. But he's a very flawed fighter. He's been knocked out a bunch of times. And he's never fought someone like Jon Jones. I know Jon Jones has looked beatable. He's right about that. Jon Jones has looked human, but I don't think Corey Anderson is the guy to beat him. I think Reyes would be. Santos, I think, could be, although I'm not sure back after those injuries how good he's going to be. Corey Anderson, I don't think it gives Jon Jones much of a problem, to be honest with you. I think Jon Jones, he's not really known for knocking guys out. I think he could knock Corey Anderson out. I really do. I know Corey's improved his striking defense, and he is a better fighter than he used to be, like when he was getting knocked out all the time by guys like Volante and OSP and stuff, but I still think he gets KO'd probably if he fights Jon Jones. I just don't see that chin holding up against an elite guy. And to be honest with you, I am picking Corey Anderson tomorrow to win the decision because I think the wrestling and the cardio will be the deciding factor. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Jan picks up a knockout win because honestly, Corey's chin has been touched a lot of times. Jan's got good takedown defense. He's got good knockout power. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jan wins that fight. And I would not bet on Corey Anderson. Kitsuro, Sounds really good for Build a Mac. Thanks, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm on the road right now, so using whatever's on the Mac. I think I really like Mac products personally. I like their computers. I like their built-in mics. So for me, it's always worked pretty well. And your other question, Corey Anderson, to be fair, is a gatekeeper. You can only beat Jon Jones with 2-1. Yeah, if it's Corey Anderson and Jan Blachowicz against Jon Jones, that could be a fair fight, right? I don't want to talk smack about Corey. I mean, the guy's honestly grinded his way to nearly a title shot. I mean, you got to respect that. That win over Johnny Walker was really impressive to me, guys. Like, I met Johnny last year in Rio. We had dinner. Awesome guy. I was all in, honestly. After he got those quick knockout wins and in the UFC, I was like, man, after he knocked out Misha, I was like, man, this guy is legit. He got cocky, he got knocked out. He's training at TriStar now, so he'll be fighting Krylov. I think he wins that fight. I think he'll bounce back. I think Johnny Walker's a guy that potentially could give Jon Jones some issues because he is long. He's got knockout power, but again, defense, guys. And that's the difference. A lot of this week was spent with other analysts talking about Jon Jones. His defense is so good. It's really good. And that's the difference between Jon Jones and a lot of these other guys. He can make the adjustments and he can evade strikes and stuff like that as well. So a lot of these guys like Corey Anderson, Corey's head movement's not great. He's been KO a bunch of times. Again, Jon Jones not known for his KO power. I think he possibly could knock out Corey Anderson if they fight. I don't see Corey having a chance against Jon Jones. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe Corey's the guy to beat Jon Jones. I'd be shocked, but good for him. Hey, listen, the guy's trying to keep his name out there. I get it. If he beats Jan tomorrow in impressive fashion, I think he needs to, by the way. If he just wins a decision, which I do believe it's going to happen, if he just holds up Jan down for 5 rounds, no one will want to watch Jon Jones fight him. People are going to ask for the Reyes rematch. But if Corey Anderson goes out there and knocks out Jan Blachowicz or takes him down and then beats him up on the ground or submits him, I think there's a chance he could get the title shot. We'll see what happens tomorrow, guys. Honestly, it's very hard to say until then. All right, one other fight announcement here. UFC Lincoln, Roosevelt Roberts against Matt Frevola. And Roosevelt actually called out Matt Frevola a few years ago. Finally gets the fight he wants. Roosevelt Roberts overall in the UFC is 3-1, coming off a nice win over Alexander Yakovlev. Also has wins over Thomas Gifford and Daryl Horcher and a loss to Vince Pichel. Pretty solid fighter. The loss to Pichel disappointed me, but he bounced back nicely in the last fight. Frevola is a guy that's really surprised me in the UFC. I did not expect much from him coming into the octagon, and he's so far 2-1-1 in the UFC. Back-to-back wins over Luis Pena and Jalen Turner, a draw against Landon Venata, and a knockout loss to Polo Reyes. 2 guys from the Contender Series, of course. Interesting fight, close fight. I don't know. There's something about Frevola that I like, though. I think this guy is pretty good. But Roosevelt Roberts, of course, matches up really well. Definitely kind of a coin flip fight, if you ask me. I really have no idea who would win this fight, guys. So, really no lean. If I guess gun to head, I lean towards Frevola. I've been pretty impressed with his wrestling, I guess. But very close fight. And honestly, I don't hold me to that one because I got to look at the odds when they come out in April. That's UFC Lincoln. Just looking at some more news here. Kamaru Usman seems like he wants the Conor McGregor fight. He says he likes red panty himself. Who doesn't? Everyone likes a red panty, especially on Valentine's Day, right? Kamaru is a businessman too. He wants to make some money, so I can see this fight happening in the future. But of course, he's going to fight Masvidal. After that fight, though, I mean, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen. It's very possible Conor could get a title shot at 170, although the UFC wants him at 155. Really no idea what's going to happen there. I'd like to see Conor get a fight book soon, though. I know that they're probably going to – it's stupid, right? They're going to probably have him wait until to see what happens in April or at least see if there's an injury. I think maybe that's what they're trying to see. But I'd like to see him take a fight in the meantime. And hey, you know what? Book him against Gaethje or Diaz or whatever. And if Tony or Khabib gets hurt, throw him in there and then book one of those guys against someone else. That's what I would do. But, it's up to the UFC what they want to do. I think that's about it. I'm just looking at the news. There wasn't a lot out there. Tomorrow night, of course, UFC Rio Rancho. Myself and Cole Sheldon, we did the podcast on Tuesday. Go back and check that out. Gave all our picks for the card. Picked a couple dogs. Should be a pretty good card. That's the only fight card this weekend. Next weekend, we have UFC Auckland, and we got a Bellator card and a Kombachi card. So some good stuff coming up. And then next month is another crazy month, guys. There's a lot of fights, as well as the UFC flyweight title being up for grabs at the end of this month. So a lot of fight cards coming up. Really no rest for the wicked, but that's the way we all like it here. And I think that's going to be it for today's show, guys. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Kinshiro, I really appreciate the questions. Actually, I forgot. I have one other question here in an email from Kevin Scott. I got to answer that. Forgot, Kevin. Sorry, man. I remember at the last second, though, so I got it. Let's pull this out here. Kevin's really good at sending emails to me. And here's the question from Kevin. Where's Rumble? Here's what he says. Where is Rumble Johnson? Any updates on his whereabouts? Would love to see him fight Jones at light heavyweight if Jones is serious about moving up, or a top contender at 205 if he has been able to trim down. There has been some speculation Rumble Johnson could come back. At first, there was speculation to be at heavyweight, but now I've seen Ali Abdelaziz saying if Rumble comes back, it might be at 205, which is really interesting. I'll be honest, guys. Rumble versus Jones is a fight I'd love to see. It's a fight I'd love to see for a long time. Rumble's a guy that can knock out Jon Jones, and Jon Jones looks like he could be caught. The problem with Rumble is I love Rumble, don't get me wrong, great fighter, incredible knockout power. I mean, it's maybe the most pure knockout power at heavyweight, or light heavyweight, I should say. He is known for being a quitter. He's known for being a guy that can kind of break mentally and get finished, especially on the ground. He's been submitted 5 times. Twice against DC. I remember the Vior fight, Josh Koscheck, Rich Clemente. Like, he's a guy that can break, but when he is the front runner, he is very, very hard to beat. Like, look at the Clark Sherwin, 13 seconds. Ryan Bader, 1 minute and 26 seconds. He has some incredible wins. Gustafsson, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Like, Little Nog, 44 seconds. Like, this guy has incredible KO power. I'd obviously favor Jon Jones. I'd favor against anyone. But Rumble is a guy that can actually knock him out. And honestly, if Rumble comes back, I think he'd make 205 very interesting, even more so than it is right now. I think 205 is more interesting than it has been in a long time. I think heavyweight's a good spot for him too, though. I mean, heavyweight, Rumble versus Stipe is a very interesting fight, guys. So, yeah, I'd love to see Rumble come back. Guy's a great fighter. I mean, really is. He is incredible knockout power. But again, the ground game leaves something to be desired. But as far as knockout power, his last 5 wins were knockouts, and they were performance of the night winning knockouts. So the guy has fantastic knockout power. Kevin, thanks for the question. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. Again, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB podcast, and my home is MMAOddsbreaker.com. And you can also check me out at BJPenn.com and MMAratings.net. Guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy UFC rearrange, and I'll be back Monday recapping the card. Have a great one. Bye.